Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'm going to be doing an in-depth guide to what to look out for when buying a classic Mini Cooper Sport. So obviously I'll be using my own as a perfect example. So let's start on the outside then. We'll start at the front end. Now, if anyone's going to, aiming to look at one or things like that, on the pictures, obviously you're going to probably the main picture on your advert is going to be that shot. If you can on the picture, look at the usual areas which I'm about to tell you now. So the usual areas for rusting. Now if you don't know, minis love to rust. So you have to be very careful when looking for one. So I'll go over the front and then we'll work his way to the back, and then I'll go to the inside and the underneath and the bonnet as well. So I'll just show you the front. So the main areas to look out for is under here, this seam here. Now this basically can rust on that seam, also around the headlights. Now if we move around, it's obviously the same at the other side. It basically all the way around this seam here. So look out, if there's no rust there, that's a good start. Make sure there's no blemishes really in the paint. So as we move up, this gap here. Now this gap should be like that. There should be a gap there. Now a lot of minis have been sealed just due to, if they've been restored, that gap is sealed, which is fine, but just check there's no rust, it's not rusting down there, or basically down this seam here. As we move around underneath the windscreen, another area where they love to rust, so basically check what we call the scuttle panel, which is obviously the panel in between the bonnet and the windscreen. Check this panel now, they do like to rust under this seam here, so check that again. Make sure there's nothing starting or anything like that. Now as you can see, mine's pretty good. Again, same with this seam here. I don't know why, but the car's looking orange on the camera. It's not. I can show you it's still red. Move around, move down to the bottom of the doors. Now another place they love is the bottom of the doors. So as you can see on here, this is another common place, just there. I don't think the camera's going to pick that up. Now again, there's nothing here, but that is a very common place. They love to rust on there. But in terms of it's more the front end really that they seem to rust more. So, but obviously there's other places. So we'll go around and open up now. Inside again, check underneath this seal. I'm not obviously going to lift it up, but it's perfect underneath there. Check that seal, because again they start rusting around there. Underneath the doors there's a drain hole. Always make sure that's clear. And also if it isn't clear, that shows that dirt's built up, and also the dirt can stay inside the door and rust through, obviously because the dirt's not dried, which is what causes the rusting. In terms of in here, check under the carpets, make sure there's no rust, and also make sure it's dry under there. If it's dry under there, that's a good sign. It shows that no water's coming in and rusting the floor away. So check the floors. Again, down here, back windows, underneath the back windows, another common place. Now mine had started going, but we've treated that as best we can. It just started going under the seal, so again, it's another common area. If we move up, the roof. Now the roof gutters are, as you can see, perfect on mine. There's a little bit, you can just see there, a little tiny bit of rust, but they love to rust on here as well. Obviously the water sitting in here and not going down the drain holes, that can be another common area where they like to rust. So just check all the way around the car for that. As we move down, just check all the wheels are intact and everything. Now underneath, as you can see, mine's pretty clean under there. Check underneath. Now another area, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, is there's basically this back panel down here. Now the dirt obviously and all the stones hits that, and that can cause it to rust away. So check the under the arches, making sure that it's pretty good. Now with having these on, so I did forgot the indicators as well. They love to rust around there. Obviously with there being a hole there, water can get in there and rust. And I suppose really around the headlights as well. Now if you have the front wheels off, you can actually get right in there and wax oil and what we call denso tape, which I put a link in one of the previous videos about. We obviously denso taping the whole back of the headlight to stop any water or dirt building up and eating through the paintwork. So that's something else we've done there. So move around to the back. The rear bumper, I'd always say just check when you're viewing, and then if you do end up buying the car, have it off, wax oil it, clean it, and just check that underneath there is all pretty good, because again the dirt can build up behind the rear bumper and just the back, underneath away. So that's another common area. Just check the boot hinges are all intact and everything. Also this gap here as well. I'll come back to other things to look out for apart from rust. This is just going through where they rust basically. So I'll come back to that in a minute. Again, just check all wheel arches, because obviously with having the arches on, there's still the original arch underneath, if you know what I mean. So you've got the arches extended, but you've still got the original arch underneath that these bolt onto. So check sometimes on one of mine it had started to rust away, so treat that, put denso tape over it, again stopping any water or dirt building up. Now that's sort of on the car. If we start delving a bit deeper, as in underneath, sills. Now mine are pretty good, and the underneath of the car, so have a good knock of the sills. If it's solid, that's a good sign. I mean, obviously ask the owner if you can start prodding about. Maybe take something like a little screwdriver or something, just prod the sills. If the screwdriver doesn't go through, that's a very good sign. If it does, then new sill time, because obviously a lot of people put over sills on, which doesn't really get rid of the problem, because you've still got a rusty sill. You're just really covering it up rather than deal with the problem. So yeah, just check the sills and the rear subframe as well, because that's another area where they love to rust underneath the rear subframe. Now I don't think I can be able to show you that much under there, but that's just exhaust. But yeah, check the rear subframe as well under there, and the exhaust back box if that's not corroded or anything. I will also put a link down, a very good website. You can check the MOT history of the car, so that shows more of the mechanical side, if it's if there's been any oil leaks or any issue with the car over the past over the years, and that's another good sign. Now obviously this car has got an oil leak, which you can just see the oil there dripping down. End of the day, it's a Mini. Every Mini has an oil leak pretty much. If it doesn't, that's great, but they're not the most oil tight engines, the A series, and so yeah, check. If it's an oil leak, it's not under the world. Like I always say, if the bodywork sound, doesn't matter too much about the mechanicals, because they're cheaper than having the bodywork sorted. Now obviously, as you look at the car, go to the side, look, check the door gaps, make sure the door gaps are right. If they're not, it shows that when the car's been restored, it hasn't been structurally it hasn't been in a sort of a jig and held. So when the panels have been taken out, it's weakened the car structurally, and when you put the door back on or whatever, there's either a big gap or a too small gap and the door won't fit, or the door looks too big or something like that. So check the door gaps, the shut lines. Obviously it's a Mini, so they're not going to be brilliant, but if they're decent, if there's a decent shut line, that's great. Now it's obviously you see in the door sort of, that side's locked, that's I'll show you this side, but it's obviously shut the door. That's pretty good shut line, but say if it's sticking out a bit, it's not the end of the world. It's probably just that just what's adjusting. That sorts that out. It has sort of the passenger side out, because it was actually letting a little bit of water in when I was washing it, just because it wasn't sealing the door properly, so the water was getting in. Adjusted it, it's sorted. So that's sound. So that's obviously the usual areas for rust. Obviously just check everything. You've really got to delve deep. So we'll obviously go more further inside. So yeah, check the floors, and also check under the rear bench. Now I can just quickly show you that there's it's sound under there. It's all solid under there. So yeah, check. I can't get that back in. I'll sort that in a minute. Check underneath the door bins. Now obviously these are screwed on, so we just had to sort of hope that it was all right, because we couldn't start undoing stuff and looking underneath the door bin. So we just obviously bought it, we checked underneath the floor. Luckily it was sound underneath, and it was sound below the door bins as well, because that also gets a lot of part of the door bin is actually sort of straight through down to the road. So if you see a hole, you know, that's not so good. But it's not the end of the world for the door. It's mainly to me, the way I look at it, it's mainly if the bodywork is sound, you know. So, you know, the main areas is on here, you know, because to actually replace the scuttle, you basically got to stand that whole rear, you know, the front end off to actually get to that scuttle panel. So it's quite important that the scuttle panel is sound. Obviously, with the wings, if they go here, sometimes obviously they go apart both sides. You've got to replace both. So, you know, some people they have rust and they leave it until it gets so bad, then they start restoring it. So yeah, that's really the bodywork. I mean, there's little other play. I mean, obviously round the windscreens, for example, you know, they're going to go there because the water gets in them seals, and the you know, it gathers and then eventually it starts eating away. So I'll also put a video. I'll be doing a video about how to wash it. Now that might seem daft, but with a car like this, you've got to make sure that all the water is basically gone. So I use like a blower, 4 horsepower blower that absolutely just blows the water away from every little gap, and it's brilliant. So yeah, that's really. I mean, in terms of everything else, obviously the headlining, it's had a new headline fitted now. I do know that to replace headlining, it's a real pain to have to, you know, be replaced. So luckily that was replaced before I bought it, which was great. But yeah, just check that these can crack very easily, so check them again. But apart from that, you know, end of the day with a Mini, you've got to look. It's not like buying a Fiesta or a Corsa. You've got to look that bit further. I always find. So yeah, just check everything. Now, another place to check is in the boot and under the wheel well. So I'm not actually going to take the house. It's a pain to get back in. But underneath, you can just, you can't really see, but you've got the wheel underneath there. Check the wheel well. Check that all that's sound, and also the battery tray. Now this battery tray has been replaced, which is always good. Now what I can do is just show you. Hopefully I can, if that allows. Come on. Yeah, it should do. There we go. So underneath there, which is all, I know it's hard to see, but that is all sound under there. The washer bottle there. Yeah, it's sound under there. But yeah, check in this corner here, because again, it can gather and it can eat away. But all that was sound. Back in, there we go. Oh, knock that off. That's all good. So yeah, check the wheel well, and just check if you know, obviously fuel leaking down there. That's always a good sign to see that. So that's the boot. So I'll move now on to mechanicals. So under here, really, you're just looking for, you know, making sure that everything's obviously intact, connected and everything. It's such a busy engine. It is so much crammed in here. I don't honestly know how they did it. But just checking, obviously the filters, it's a genuine filter, that's always a good thing to see. Obviously everything, you know, there's only so much you can sort of look at without going for a drive, which is what I'm going to do next. Just got the K&N sticker on there for the air filter. But yeah, just check that. Also check now, I am waiting for some red paint, that's why this has just been primed at the minute. It has just started rushing on now. I've primed it ready for the red paint to go on under there. So, but yeah, check the underneath bonnet. So yeah, that's really, you know, there's not a lot to sort of look at in terms of, you know, until we actually go out for a drive, which is what we'll do now. Obviously, what I would do is fire the car up, make sure it sounds sweet. To the immobiliser. Oh God. You know, if the obviously then you warm. Sounds pretty sweet. Always check that with the that is pretty much it. Don't have it to cold, wait till it's warmed up. Now one thing you will notice if you do go for a test drive is the oil pressure gauge. Don't think, oh, it's not working. you need to go on a really long run for that to even start moving, and that's just how they are. The clock is actually not working in this, so it's saying 12:30, and the volt should be that when you start it up. Heater, I had to have, like I said, a new heater valve in, got that fitted before I bought it. So this temperature gauge should be idling about sort of 900 revs, like that, and there shouldn't be any sort of noises when you start. You know, you see some squeezing up there, which is sound, and it should idle back down to a, you know, to a normal rev. Obviously, when the engine's cold, you will the idle will be a bit sort of all over the place until it warms up. Also check if you can, when you're revving it, there's no sort of blue smoke going out, so obviously that'll show that it was misfiring. Now with the injection, you can't really have a misfire because obviously the fuel will get the source of the fuel out here, obviously choke, so you'd like to think that it won't be misfiring. Now this has got the sports exhaust, so obviously when you're changing down and stuff, it'll pop and crack, which is part of music. Yeah, sounds are sweet enough. That's how basically the Mini should sound, hopefully. So we'll just turn that off now. And just, you know, yeah, that's the mechanical. So we'll now get in, we'll go for a drive and talk you through some of the noise that are normal, and hopefully there shouldn't be any that isn't normal. So yeah, let's go for a drive. So let's go for a drive. So keys, obviously the later ones have an immobiliser. It's just the, let me put the key in I think first, because the later ones. Well, yes, there we go. So yeah, so yeah, first gear, the gearbox is second, and you have to push over, then third. It's not sort of a smooth, you've got to actually push it over, then up to third, so it doesn't take that much getting used to. It's pretty, to be fair, it's pretty easy to drive. I mean, it's just getting used to, you know, its ways really. Now the ride, don't think, oh god, is the suspension shot, you know, is it addict? That's just the way they are. So the ride shockingly. You know, don't expect to drive a Mini and it'd be luxurious. You know, that camera's going to be moving all the way, I'm going to be bobbing up and down, just the way they are. So yeah, one thing to check if you're going down sort of a hill, brake, check the car doesn't pull from left to right. If it does, obviously it means the brake balance is slightly is not quite correct. And then once the engine's warmed up, just give it a bit, make sure it pulls strongly, and also make sure the gearbox is nice and smooth. Now when you're changing down, you can't really hear it, but there'll be whining. So that's just the characteristic, so don't think, oh, because the gearbox had it. The whine is normal, it's completely normal for a Mini. Now obviously with this being a 1300, it pulls pretty well. There's only me in it, so it pulls pretty well. So yeah, just check. Obviously the temperature gauge will should be basically in between the H and the C, hot and cold. Now depending on what sort of, if you're going downhill, it'll be slightly low the half mark, but you know, it shouldn't really go any higher than the half mark, which mine never does. Touch what it won't do. So with fuel gauge, that's probably the difficult thing I've found. Obviously with having the Swift, it's a lot more accurate than this. So you go down a hill, the needle moves down. When you go uphill, it goes up. So it's hard to judge how much fuel you've got left in it. But I will say that don't try and leave it, you know, don't let it go run too low, because the fuel pumps can go just instantly like that. You can go instantly. So make sure you always keep plenty of fuel in it. Yeah, check all the lights work. Check all the lights work. Horn, good horn. Just, you know, make sure you have a decent test drive. Check the steering's pretty good. There might be a little bit of play, again, that's just half the art, I'm afraid. And also the brakes, you know, they're not modern brakes. The later ones have the servo, so that makes it a little bit more brake stopping power. Yeah, make sure there's no weird noises. I mean, these squeaks and rattles, again, that's just a characteristic. You've got, you know, I mean, the squeaks and rattles I've got rid of again out back today, I don't know why. But yeah, so all things to watch out for when you're on the road, speed bumps, because of the sump is quite low, so watch with speed bumps. Now, one of the mates has got a sump guard on his, which I suppose is a good thing, but I haven't bothered up to now. I might think about putting a sump guard on it, but just check, make sure, you know, watching speed bumps, don't go over too fast because you will literally break your back, especially with the sport pack being the 13-inch wheels and everything. It makes the ride a lot harder. Put my in because so you can hear what I'm saying. But yeah, but you love it, you know. As soon as I started driving it and clicked, I thought, yeah, I absolutely love this. But also expect to get looked at a lot. So much attention, it really does. I mean, I'm just driving down the road now and people looking, and it's just like. What I do find with the speed bumps is go in the middle. If you go in the middle of them, it's not too bad. I mean, it's not brilliant, but it's not too bad. And I will just go over one normally, and you can see what I mean about the ride. I mean, this is, I'm doing 15 mile an hour. Oh, yeah, it really isn't a comfy ride. But yeah, just check everything really when you're driving, and you'll love it. You really will. The handling again is just fantastic. You can hear that bit of knocking again. That is just the suspension. It's not really a knocking noise. It's just because of the hard suspension. We'll get up here. So again, that squeak, I need to put some more grease on that. You'll buy one and you'll think, oh my god, what have I bought here? But you know, you get to know it more. You get to, you know, you get used to the way it drives. And I always say you've got to completely detach yourself from modern driving when you drive one of these. You've got to think, yeah, I'm not in a modern car. You know, I haven't got modern brakes. I haven't got the stopping power that a modern car has. Just things like that you just got to think about. But once you do, it's just, oh, it's fantastic. Second gear, decent exhaust, turn it in. Yes, fantastic. So, but yeah, just check the engine gets up to temperature. Okay, always, you know, just take it nice and steady until the engine warms up. You know, just mechanical sympathy really like I do. Yeah, just that's really about it. In terms of obviously doing your research, now I was quite lucky because when I looked at this car and bought it, I managed to track the previous owner. I worked out, I'm trying to work out how I found out now. It originally came from Norfolk. One owner had it in Norfolk, and I managed to track the car through the Norfolk Mini Owners Club, and I managed to track the owner, and he was on Facebook, and I got in contact with him. So he told me a lot about the car, and luckily it was all good. Now, obviously, I was just lucky enough to find one of the previous owners, which he did actually tell me that after he sold it to a guy locally to him, and he covered it in football stickers and sort of ruined it, which was a little bit disappointing to hear. But then I thought, well, that's fair enough, but you know, the guy, someone who bought it after him, has obviously restored it and got in the condition it is in today. So yeah, I always say as well, when you engine brake, do quite a lot of engine braking, because you don't always rely on the brakes all the time. But yeah, check the engine looks smooth, give it a bit. If it pulls pretty well, that's always a good sign. But yeah, always do your research, you know, look online, there's loads of buying guides, you know, don't just listen to me, there's loads of people, probably a few more ideas than you know, a few other things to look out for other than what I've said. Just do your research, that's the main thing. If you do your research and you know what to look for, you will get a decent one. I always say as well, I mean, this car hasn't actually, as well, I will just mention, turns out it hasn't got a stage 1 kit on it, because to have a stage 1 kit you have to remove the cat's still on this car, but it has just got some sort of sports exhaust, which is why it sounds pretty free as it does. So yeah, it hasn't actually got a stage 1 kit on it, which I'm not bothered, because it pulls and it goes pretty well. But yeah, what I will say about this sort of the servicing and things like that, and oil change and service, this car hasn't actually been stamped up from 2011, I think. Well, I think it was 2011, 2012. It hasn't actually been stamped on the book. So God, I had a service for 7 years. But when you go on the internet, I actually post a link. I put a post on the mini forum, and a lot of people said don't worry about it because it's such a simple engine that most owners just service them themselves. I'll probably service it myself because it's so easy to do. Oil change, filter, it's dead easy. So yeah, don't really worry about if it, you know, if they said it's been done, yeah, that's sound. But if obviously you look in the book, oh, there's no more service, don't think I'm not buying it, because it did come to his mind. It did give us second thoughts, but when we thought about it, we thought, well, it drives all right, you know, it's not blowing any smoke out, so it must have been serviced decent, you know, it must have had a good service, because otherwise it wouldn't drive or it wouldn't run as smooth as it does. So don't always think, oh, you know, there's no service, you know, I haven't been stamped up or anything. So, but apart from that, there isn't really a lot else to, you know, I mean, in terms of cars to look out for, I'd just say, and obviously places to look for, Auto Trader. Auto Trader have got like 65 cars for sale currently. Piston Heads, Car and Classic, but I just hate that website. eBay. There's loads out there. Now, in terms of obviously mileage of them, now this has done 45,000. I wouldn't really, obviously with the less miles the better, but it's not a deal break if they've done like 70 or 80,000, because they're a simple engine and they're a really good engine. So, you know, they're not sort of engine where you think, oh, 80,000, that's it, you know. The engine's had it. It's not like that, you know. Some engines have done over 100,000 miles and there's still, you know, people use them every day. But this one, I don't think has actually been used every day all its life. So that's why it's on the mileage it is, really. But yeah, I would just say, you know, do your research. That's all I will say. Do your research, and you'll find a decent one. Drop any comments below, any more questions about it. There's probably little bits I've missed on this video, but like I say, the internet's a great place to look for you know, tips, advice, what to look like, so what to look out for. If you want sort of old school with a choke and everything, sort of your pre-1991 are your car models. So, and obviously I will say the early ones will be expensive. Sort of your Mark 1s, you're selling money for them, you're selling like £19,000–20,000. I mean, they start, if you sort of, I'd say rough ones are sort of like £500 up to like £4–4.5 grand. Decent ones are sort of 5 to 8, depending on sort of model. Your mint ones are sort of like £10,000 onwards, really. But yeah, so it depends what you want. If you only want a standard sort of, you know, just want a standard one, yeah, definitely would recommend the just go on Auto Trader or Piston Heads or something like that, and that will, you know, these cars, I mean, there's cars everywhere, you know, go on forums, there's people selling them everywhere. I mean, it took me about 3–4 weeks to find a decent one, to find this one, sorry. And I will say that, never buy the first one you see, because the chances are there's always going to be a better one than the one you first see. So try not to buy the first one. I mean, you know, don't say don't buy it, but say have a good look at a few. Don't just look at one and think I'm having that. You know, have a shop round, have a good look at some, you know. So, but yeah, that's really it. You know, let's say drop any comments below if you want any more info on this car or any more advice. I'll give it you. You know, I'll let you know anything else. But yeah, as ever, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and there's plenty more videos with this and the Swift coming very soon. Cheers.